Good morning. Today we're going to be taking a look at some Dunkin' Donut reviews for a coffee shop near me. These are actually pretty funny, and I'm going to put in like a little commentary to them or my opinion because some of these are absurd, but some of them are actually pretty hilarious. About 4 weeks ago, a customer went into this Dunkin' Donuts after placing an order online because Dunkin' has, I guess, a .com where you can purchase their coffee and things. I don't know, I never shopped there. And this customer said she went to pick it up at this local Dunkin'. And when they got there, they said that there was no order. They couldn't fill the order and she had to wait for the online service to fill the order. But she said that she argued with them and then left the store and then called corporate for weeks and they never filled the order or refunded her money. I don't know if this was a situation where she ordered it to ship to store, because I know you can do that on some websites. And what she would need to do is call her credit card or bank and dispute the charge, not going into the local Dunkin' to try to get your money back, because they're not going to be able to help you at all. In fact, some stores now, I don't know about coffee shops in general, but some stores, if you buy something from one location, you can't even return it at another location. 2 months ago, a customer said 3 of their drinks were wrong and 2 of them were missing parts. What is exactly a part of a drink? Is she talking about like the coffee part? I've actually never heard of a banana drink. The only banana drink I've ever heard of is a smoothie. I don't really know what parts she's talking about. Maybe she's talking about the cream, sugar, foam, sprinkles. I'm not sure. When I think of parts, I think of a construction scene. You got your tool belt, your hammer, your screws, your nuts and bolts. When I think of parts, that's what I think of. So I'm not sure what parts go into a banana drink. Another review 4 months ago said that when the customer got to the store after ordering online through their app, the staff threw away the receipt and their order wasn't filled. And the manager refused to fill the order. Again, if this happens to you, go to your credit card, bank account. There are ways to dispute these things. Things happen. Things get misplaced, thrown away. They get very busy at coffee shops, especially at certain times of the day. I've been at 8 o'clock in the morning where I've had to wait in line for 20 minutes because the line is around the block. But then I've been at 2 o'clock in the afternoon where I'm the only car. But in these situations, things happen because they're run by people, and people are human and make mistakes. But I know it's super frustrating. You expect a coffee and you get nothing, and you've already paid for it through the app. Your activity will be on the app. Now you could look into your transaction history, and if it's not in there, perhaps it never went through. So that could have been a Wi-Fi issue. It could have been your phone, your computer, your app, wherever you ordered it from. The other remedy is to call corporate and find out if there's anything they can do for you. One time I went to take a sip of coffee and there was a bee in my cup. It was passed on because it was in hot coffee. But oh my goodness, that's disgusting. I went right back and they gave me a free coffee on the house. Another customer reviewed this Dunkin' 4 months ago and said that they ordered an iced tea and twice they got a hot coffee. They kept making it as a hot coffee, and this was through the drive-thru. And when he went inside to complain because he just wanted the iced tea, the manager said he would have to go somewhere else because they can't seem to get it right through the drive-thru. If you look back and see all these reviews that were all 4 months ago, you kind of connect the dots and realize there's some management problem at this Dunkin'. I personally have never experienced this at this exact Dunkin'. This tells me after 4 months of these reviews, it shows a pattern that something isn't right. Maybe it's with the employees, maybe the manager's going through a hard time, maybe something else is going on, maybe the store corporation is not functioning well, or something else is happening. I know that over the years, Dunkin' Donuts has changed. Back in the day, it used to be an all-inclusive thing. In the 1980s and 90s, we would go hang out. It was like a social empire. The cashiers all knew us. They were there for years. They could pay the rent on that money. And then over time, it turned into buildings with signs, no loitering. It was no longer a social environment. Some have little tables. I've even seen a fireplace in a few. But the majority of the time, they want people in and out. They don't want people there anymore. A different location, a little ways away from me, one time I went and they told me that they're timed. They're actually timed for efficiency. And that same location one time changed their menu board through the drive-thru. So I was confused because I'm like, what happened to all the other selections? And when I got up to the window, they said, well, the manager here eliminated everything. I don't know if that was across the board of all Dunkins, but for this location, the manager wanted to streamline it to not give people as many choices. So he eliminated everything but like 4 sandwiches. And we like to sit back and judge them and, leave these reviews saying these things. But you can clearly see a pattern leading up to this saying, hey, go somewhere else. We've had enough. I can totally see that coming on through these comments. This one actually made me laugh out loud hysterically because the customer claims they got there at 8 and the building was still locked and nobody was answering the door. So they left and they came back at 8:30 and they pounded on the door and nobody answered it. That was the review. It reminded me of when I worked in corporate America, and no joke, we closed at 1 o'clock on Saturdays. And that particular day, we actually had some training that afternoon. So we had some guests coming to do some speaking and stuff like that. And this woman came up to the door. She drove up in like a Cadillac. She came up to the door and she got out of the passenger side. A man was driving the vehicle. And I was sitting at my desk. Where I sat was close to that door. And it was surrounded by windows. The whole building was windows. The manager had put some window tinting because of the sun that came in at my desk and other people's desks. And therefore, it was kind of hard to see in. If you were just in the parking lot, you couldn't really see in without going up to the window and, peeking in. I'm at my desk. I'm shutting down because we have to be in this meeting in the other room. And this woman is banging on the door relentlessly and shouting. She came over to the window directly behind my chair, which was tinted. And she's like this. I see you sitting there. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I couldn't even turn around. I was like, this is so weird. I was kind of mortified. Like, what is happening right now? So my coworkers were like, just ignore it. We're closed. There's signs saying we're closed. We closed at 1 o'clock. So I said, okay. But eventually I had to walk by that door. I couldn't wait anymore. The meeting was starting. I walked by that door. She ran over to the door and she was banging on it with her fist as hard as she could. I see you. Open this door. So I walked up to the door because I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, we're closed. Bye. And I turned around and started walking off. And she's like, well, I have a question. What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And she started asking me all these questions about my job and what we do. And finally, a manager came around and said to her, we're closed. You're going to have to leave. Okay? We open Monday at such and such time, 9 a.m. or whatever. And you're going to have to leave. But that's what this review reminded me of. That this person is going up to the door, banging on it. They're not open yet. And it's just, it cracks me up. It's like, there's signs for a reason. They usually say the hours. If they don't have a sign posted, or the hours say, they open at 8, they open at 8:30 when this customer arrived and was banging on the door, there could be a reason. There could be a power outage. That's happened a lot of times. There's a power outage and people are still trying to bang down the door of where they're going in, even though there's a power outage. That's happened to me at work too. There could have been a medical emergency. There could have been a staff member that had a flat tire on the way and is going to be late. We're humans. Human things happen. So when I see reviews like this, I think, okay, I know it's frustrating. I know it's aggravating. You go somewhere and they're supposed to be open and they're not. We're not always at your beck and call. You know what I mean? So if somebody feels compelled to leave a review because the door wasn't opened exactly at 8:30, I don't have sympathy for them. It's like, go to a different location. There are so many Dunkins here. There's literally, from this location, one across the street, and there's also a Starbucks. And there's also 3 grocery store chains and convenience stores that offer coffee inside as well. So there's no excuse to leave a review like this when you, the consumer, has the option and choice of going somewhere else. A year ago, a customer left this review. I'm sick of screw-ups. I don't have time to wait. How hard is it to make a sandwich? I can't believe they messed up my sandwich this bad. Won't be back. Now, that's important because the next morning, they left a subsequent review after going back to the morning shift for coffee. And they even wrote a second review that said, update, I went back in the morning and the morning crew was worse. They messed up my coffee order. You know, if somebody's leaving a review about how awful the service is and how they screw up a sandwich, why would you go back and think they're going to get the coffee right? You know, that's why I don't particularly like the Google review system. Now, some businesses, I believe it helps. You know, when a business gets 5 stars, it boosts them in the Google search and it boosts their reputation, and I get it. But what if you are a good business and you get a review like that and it's not even true? That happens as well. So you think to yourself, you know, how often are these reviews actually accurate? Never mind the poor business owner that has to deal with this kind of nonsense, you know. And I really think it's just people sometimes, not always. I know, you know, it truly is true that, yeah, Dunkin' Donuts screws up. I get it. But you know what? How often are these people leaving reviews like this anywhere they go? It's like habitual for some people. I really do believe it becomes a habit. Another reviewer said that the bread was stale on their sandwich and there was barely any avocado. Burley, spelled B-U-R-L-E-Y. When I read that, my brain went to a giant avocado or a burly person. I'm like, wait a minute, what are they talking about? Barely, it dawned on me. Barely any avocado. Now, that is disgusting to have a sandwich with stale bread, but on the other hand, if you've ever had a sandwich from a fast food drive-up coffee house, you know they move sandwiches. I don't see how they had time for their bread to go stale with the amount and volume of sandwiches they sell. My guess is this person wanted extra avocado, or they paid for extra avocado. They charged her, but didn't give her what she expected. Another review a year ago, a person said, who wants smoshed hash browns? And I'm like, smoshed. I like it. I'm adding that to my list of vocabulary words. Smoshed. S-M-O-S-H-E-D. Another review a year ago. Now, there were about 5 reviews a year ago. Out of the thousands of customers they get, a year ago there were 5, all terrible reviews. And this is the next one because this one is funny. They ordered a sandwich and hot cocoa. The sandwich was frozen and the hot cocoa was nasty. They said it was a waste of their $10. My first thought was that was only $10 for a hot cocoa and a sandwich. If you've ever been to a Dunkin' and got a sandwich, you realize that they have a little toaster thing and the toaster is timed. They put the bagel or the English muffin or whatever it is that you order, like sourdough bread, they put it in this timed toaster. It dings when it's done and they come out. They're hot. They're usually too hot to open right away, especially if you get an egg, cheese, bacon, egg, cheese, ham, you know, that kind of sandwich. If their sandwich was truly still frozen, it could have been that there was something wrong with their toaster, or the person had a huge line of people and took it out prematurely just to get through the crowd. I don't know if you've ever tried hot cocoa from Dunkin' Donuts. It's pretty good, actually. It's very sweet, though. 2 years ago, I read a complaint. A person said they received the wrong order, and when they complained to the cashier, she grunted at them and said, customers are too demanding. If you've ever been a cashier in the public, it can be very, very frustrating. Even though it's appropriate to complain when you get the wrong order, this cashier probably had enough for that day. 3 to 4 years ago, I went back and people were complaining. There were multiple reviews saying they went through the drive-thru or they went in to get water and Dunkin' no longer offered free water and they were advised they had to either pay for the water or buy a bottle of water from their coolers. I experienced this myself. So basically what happened was years ago, I don't know if it was all coffee shops, but you could ride up to a Dunkin' and ask just for a water. You didn't have to buy anything. They would give you their branded cup, a straw, a lid with their water and ice. And then one day we had all gone to the beach and on the way back we stopped and we were ordering iced coffees and somebody in my car wanted a water and I asked for the water and they said, you're going to have to pay for that. And I said, no problem. I'll gladly pay for it because I want it. So they gave me their cup their straw, their lid, and they charged me like 50 cents. So I said, oh, that's weird. I've always gotten it free. Not that I'm complaining. I'll gladly pay for it. They said, yeah, we had to change because everything that we're giving you costs money, but customers were just driving up here asking for free water all the time. We're in a business to make money. We can't just give everything free to people. And I totally understand that. They can't. That would be like going to Walmart every week and asking for a sample of laundry soap. Well, can I just get a sample? Can you just give that to me so I can do my laundry? You know, so I totally get what they're saying. And I do understand from the customer's point of view, they've always gone there to get free water and now they're told they have to pay for it. But it was seriously a matter of 50 cents at the time. Now, I don't know what they charge because I haven't asked for water. All the rest of the reviews were pretty standard stuff, like 1 star, terrible service, 1 star, rude cashiers, you know, and all that. I read one from another location I go to and it was kind of funny. It was like Valentine's Day. And this person had driven up to the drive-thru and he said all the girls in the wait staff were talking about their boyfriends. This was a terrible location to go to. They're all talking about their boyfriends. And it was just funny to me because I'm like, well, we are humans. It's Valentine's Day. Yeah, something to talk about. I'd rather hear that than all the bad news that I turn on every single day. I don't know about you, but every single day I turn on the news and it's all bad. I don't see any good news. Once in a while I see something good, but I have to kind of dig and look for that. So if I drive up to a drive-thru where there are people talking about their boyfriends on Valentine's Day, I would really consider that normal human activity, normal human socializing. But in today's world, this is all becoming antiquated, outdated, because nobody wants to be social anymore. They just want to get their coffee and go. Where back in my day, it was a social atmosphere. Coffee was always a social atmosphere. I can remember getting up at the crack of dawn with my grandmother, 4, 5 a.m. as a kid, drinking coffee with her. We would sit there at the kitchen table, drinking coffee together, and I cherish those memories. You go up to the drive-thru and people are talking together. Now, I understand it can be aggravating when you want some service and people are chit-chatting. You know, that, I get it. But think about it the next time you go to the drive-thru and people are actually socializing. It's actually a good thing. But in today's world, socialization has become bad because we're so glued to our cell phones. And here, you know, even Dunkin', now you're ordering on the app and driving up to get it and racing off. Nobody stops to talk to anybody else anymore. Nobody interacts with anybody else anymore. Nobody wants to. It's becoming that way, that we're just all so to ourselves that we don't stop and, oh, hey, how you doing? You know, or why don't we go get a coffee? It's rare to see that. People that do go to Dunkin' don't expect to sit down anymore because Dunkin's are getting away with their tables and chairs that they once had because it's no longer a place to sit down, socialize. Now it's really get your coffee, get your sandwich, and get out. But overall, I love Dunkin' Donuts. Have I had aggravating experiences? Yes. Have I grieved them out in a review? No. It isn't worth it to me because honestly, they always make up for it. There have been several times where they've mismade the coffee. I don't feel like that's any reason to go into a complete meltdown rage. I just feel like, okay, I'll just go back in. Even though it's a pain, inconvenience, I might be in my, slippers, but I go back in. I have a Dunkin' I can go to on this corner. By the time I get to the other block, I can refill my iced coffee. That's what I love about Dunkin'. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today. Take care.